Welcome to the Jet Set Hers podcast. I'm Jenny.
And I'm Jamie. We discuss travel, adventure, and everyday life. Listen with us and let's go somewhere.
Hi.
Yo, Jenny, what's up?
Little announcement today. We decided that today's episode will be the last one for our season one, our first podcast season, which is kind of exciting and sad that it's coming to an end. But stay tuned on our Instagram and stuff because we have a lot of stuff coming for season two, and we'll be posting some hints and just a bunch of stuff on there.
And thanks for listening with us for almost a full year of podcasting.
Crazy.
It has been very fun and very enjoyable pastime for us. And on that note, I am going to introduce our next guest. We have Amy Angelili from the Adventure Project. So much more. She has done so much cool stuff in her time on this earth. So make sure you check her out, the Adventure Project. And she's also at the Adventure Pro on Instagram, certified laughter yoga leader. Coming at you. Enjoy.
Enjoy. Hi. Excited to introduce our guest today. Hi, Amy.
Hi, Jenny.
You are recording from St. Augustine?
I am in St. Augustine, America's oldest city. You look
Exciting.
like you were in St. Augustine.
Yeah, I made my background the fort, which is my favorite part of St. Augustine. So
Nice.
I used to go there a lot. My sister lives in Jacksonville. So she's like 45 minutes from St. Augustine. So we go there a lot. And then being in Orlando, I would kind of pass through it when I'd go to visit her. So
That's so funny. My mom was born in Jacksonville, but that has nothing to do with why I live in St. Augustine. And then I used to live in Denver for 9 years.
oh, hey.
So yeah.
What made you? I don't think I could move out of Denver. So pretty surprised.
You know, I'm originally from Philadelphia, and what I learned after being in Denver for a while is that a lot of people who had easy access to the coast end up leaving Denver eventually because the being landlocked
Right.
starts to bother them. And that happened to me.
Yeah.
And so like having to get on a plane to get to the coast started to wear me down so much that I needed to move to a place where I could access the coast like
Immediately.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
That makes sense. But I also am not a huge beach person, even living in Florida most of my life. So I think as long as I can get to the mountains or the lakes, that'll like appease.
Yeah, well now I'm too far out of balance in the opposite way. So I was just in the mountains around Asheville, and all I wanted to do was sit on the porch of the tiny house and take in the view and just do deep breathing to take in the mountain air.
Oh, I love Asheville. That's where my tattoo artist is, and that's where I got my tattoo. And I was only there for a day, but I was like, this is beautiful, and I'd love to stay there longer.
You know, I love that you said that. I write part-time for visitstaugustine.com, and we just had a meeting this morning about whether or not travelers get tattoos. I got my tattoo in Boulder, Colorado.
Yeah.
And I said, that is a thing to travel and get tattoos while you're on the road.
Oh, it definitely is.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'm in a travel group on Facebook, and there's always posts about I purposely got this tattoo in Spain or I got this in Ireland. Like that's a huge thing. Yeah.
Well, I'm going to tell them that a mere 2 hours after we had our discussion, we had this discussion. Yeah.
We'll back it up.
Tattoos for everyone.
Right.
Yeah, me and my friends I went to Ireland with, we actually want to go back to Ireland and get like a little sheep tattoo because we saw sheep everywhere with these like orange and red like sprays on them, like paint.
Yes. Uh-huh.
And we just thought it was so weird, but I guess it's how the farmers know whose is whose and everything.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
But I was like, how cute would that be? Just like a little minimalist sheep with the stripe of color.
with the tattoo on the sheep.
On the tattoo on you.
On the tattoo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then that's a memory that you guys will have forever, and it'll commemorate a time that you guys had. So
right.
Makes sense.
Even if it doesn't make sense to anyone else.
Exactly. Don't have to make sense to anybody else.
Yeah. I have one tattoo and I have one body piercing, and I got my nose pierced when I graduated from improv school in Philadelphia, and I got my tattoo when I graduated from improv school in Denver.
There you go.
Yeah.
So your next
Important
graduation.
times.
I know. I know. I gotta school it up again to, get something
Right.
else. None of these little one-off workshops, they don't merit like a change to the physical body.
Right. Big milestones.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Uh-huh. Mhm.
So do you want to start just like tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. That's such a big question. Once upon a time, I was born.
In the land of Philadelphia.
Philadelphia.
So I was born outside of Philadelphia. My parents were very traditional. They were of the mindset that you go to college for 4 years and there's only certain paths of study that are, like appropriate, sciences and accounting. And then one of those two tracks. And then once you are finished school, then you get a full-time job with health benefits, you work 9 to 5, and you live happily ever after. My father sent me to school for accounting, and that was tragedy in the making.
From the start.
Yeah, from the start. I was into the arts and I was a writer and I wanted to travel and learn languages and all this. So I ended up being the only editor of the college newspaper that wasn't in the journalism program. So I was in the business program, and about halfway through, my accounting advisor said, "Miss Angelilli, I think it's time you change your major," as I was getting like D minuses in cost accounting and having to like repeat the classes in the summertime. So I changed to marketing, ended up with a marketing degree and a double minor accounting and Spanish. But honestly, truth be told, like the only thing of those three things that I found interesting was Spanish, because I felt like that was like a window to, another world, right? My first trip out of the country was a spring break trip, but although it was a spring break trip to Cancun, it wasn't like that Cancun trip. You know what I mean? Like whenever I say that, people always laugh, and it wasn't like that. I went with one friend from college, and she was from Wales. She was an exchange student.
Oh.
And yeah, so here she is, like totally white and pasty with her blonde hair and her cute little accent, going to Cancun on spring break with me. And she had a boyfriend back in Wales, but I didn't realize at the time that she was also seeing somebody in our dorm. So she was like kind of laying low because she had, kind of a guy in two ports. Meanwhile, I was practicing my Spanish skills with like any local guy that would, chat with me. I ended up falling in love with the waiter who worked across the street from our little hotel. We kept in touch for a year and a half.
Oh,
Wow.
Crazy. And this was like before, instant everything.
right.
So yeah, like so he would like call me from a payphone, right? Call my dorm, and he would send me these like care packages with like, are you ready for this? Letters on audio cassette.
Wow.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and there'd be fun little gifts in there, and I would write him, like long hand letters. But those, I have a box somewhere in here. I couldn't put my finger on it immediately, but I know it's around here somewhere with all his things that he.
That's
Oh,
cute.
Yeah. Hmm. And that was sort of the beginning of my love of travel. And then the following year, I studied for a summer in Spain.
Wow.
I feel like I should be fluent by now, but I find that if I'm not using it regularly, I need some wine to kind of get me going. Beer doesn't do it like wine does, or a mixed drink. Like it has to be wine.
I feel like that makes sense because you probably drank a lot of wine in Spain.
Yes, you're like in Spain, you drink a lot of vino tinto, the red wine.
just brings it out in you.
Yeah.
And then it's like, yeah, the language just flows out of you like the wine flows out. But work-wise, I sort of went backwards. Like I feel like I'm more of a 20-something now than I was when I was 20-something, because I was working in corporate then,
Mm-hmm.
and I kept getting laid off. So maybe like that was actually a good thing because it made me very resilient and very flexible. So working in publishing, I got laid off. Working in corporate, I got laid off. Working in agency, I got laid off. Working in nonprofit, I got laid off.
It was the universe like guiding you, I feel.
I ended up working in animal welfare for 10 years.
Aw.
And
Oh.
that's what led me to Denver. Meanwhile, I was traveling and I was also pursuing this improv hobby. I started to burn out with animals because it's very hard to travel when you have 22 cats and 2 dogs. I did move in an RV with all these animals, from Philadelphia to Denver and then from Denver to St. Augustine. But improv started to take over. And I found that as improv pivoted from a hobby to a career, it's such a good travel tool because when you have an improv mindset, you're much better able to be resilient while you're traveling. Because some people, especially people who don't have a lot of time to travel, they have this hardcore itinerary and list of things to do. And you have to have that combination of like, yes, I want to do these things and I need time to just let what will be unfold. And if something doesn't turn out or come to fruition, then, how can I still make the most of this adventure? Because even if you're in one of those trips where everything is going wrong, which I've been on,
Right.
still an adventure. Like I went to Puerto Rico years ago and ended up winning a travel contest after writing about like literally everything that went wrong. I entered more than one contest. The first contest, I was runner-up and won a free dinner. The second contest, I won the grand prize and got an all expense paid trip to the Cayman Islands.
Oh my gosh. That's amazing.
Yeah.
And I love it because it's like something that didn't turn out good led you to something good.
Yes. Uh-huh.
There you go. It's like a redo vacation.
Mhm.
And then I know we kind of skipped it, but I see that you do have a beer over there.
yeah.
So what are you drinking with us
Oh
today?
yeah. So I was telling you, my boyfriend has a little tiny red refrigerator out on the porch. That's George's fancy beer refrigerator. So this is from his stash. And like I said, I'm hoping there wasn't just one because it's pretty amazing. But it's called Moment of Impact.
Oh, I do like that can.
Cool can too.
Isn't that cool? Yeah. It looks like Star Wars.
It does.
Yeah.
Russian Imperial Stout.
Russian Imperial Stout. Yep. Coffee, cacao, coconut, vanilla mint.
It
And how's
sounds
it
so
taste?
good.
It is so good.
That's a lot of so's.
And so good. And he's funny because he can drink stuff like this when it's like 1,000,000 degrees out.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, no, stouts are just for winter time, not summertime. But I said I still have like just a sip or two of coffee left. So it makes a nice transition right into the
Right.
coffee.
And what's the alcohol percentage?
Oh, that is such a good question. Let's see.
Because it sounds like it's probably strong.
It does sound strong.
Oh
It
my
looks strong.
God. I'm not going to be able to do any work after this. I'm going
Oh
to
no.
It's 13.1%.
Oh my
Oh my gosh.
I teach my improv class today. Good Lord.
It's going to be really interesting.
It's going to be a really good improv class.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
Wow.
When
And
you
you
pulled it out, I was like, that looks like a strong one. I didn't expect 13 though. Wow.
I just know I wanted a good stout. I didn't really look at the fine print.
Right.
This is going to be a fun one.
That is awesome. Moment of Impact. The name is perfect too.
I know this because it kind of looks like a heavy metal / Star Wars can.
I
It
could see that.
does,
And that's
definitely.
my boyfriend. I feel like he like made this beer. This is
And mine is a super lightweight compared to yours today.
What are you drinking?
I am drinking, it's from Fremont Brewing, which is in Seattle, Washington.
Fremont, yes. Uh-huh.
Yeah,
He
it's called
knows
the
'em.
Sky
Yeah.
Kraken Hazy Pale Ale. It's only
Oh,
5.5%.
hazy. Yeah. Uh-huh.
So it's a light boy. It's like less than half your alcohol percentage.
Well, it's still early there.
It is. It's 10 a.m. So I also have coffee. These don't go as well together though as a stout would.
No, no,
Right.
no, no. I feel like you're doing a bad mix.
Yeah, I think I'm just gonna have to stick to the beer, no more coffee. There we go. Jamie, what are you drinking over there?
All right, you know me, my Michigan beers. It's Bell's Official Classic, but no, not as nearly as strong. I think this is 6.7, 6.4. So
That's like a standard IPA.
So
yeah.
where the place where I got this glass, well, I don't know if you can see that, Bug Brewing Company,
Oh yeah, Bog. Yep, I see it.
Bug. So that's right down the street from me here in St. Augustine. And there's always dogs in there. The dogs are always with guys. And so I feel like that old cliche, like I'm literally on the floor with the dogs, in love with the dogs. And I always feel like the guys think I'm trying to hit on them.
And you're like, no, I really just love
No,
the
it's just like really all about the dogs.
That's how I am. Agreed. And I'm getting a puppy soon, and I just can't wait to take her to all the breweries here. Because like my dog's too old to go out. She just wants to sleep all day. But
Oh,
the
yeah.
puppy will be like the hit.
Oh yeah. If you can't make friends with a puppy, then
You can't at all.
yeah.
Fine.
Yes, exactly.
We'll find out. No, I'm just kidding.
My
Yeah.
my second husband had a puppy when we first met in Denver. We met online, but like we met in person at City Park. And so his friends thought we like randomly met in City Park. And I was like, no, that was the meeting spot. So his friends thought we randomly met in City Park because Keith the dog was still a puppy and I like was oohing and eyeing over the dog. But the reality was we met online and that was our meeting spot. And Keith the dog got away from my ex-husband as I was en route. So he was like chasing him around the park, trying to get him to come back. And my ex-husband was hungover and I had a migraine.
I feel like this is a rom-com plot.
Definitely feels like a rom-com big time right now. I love that actually. That was
I like the name
wonderful.
too. He's Keith the dog.
Keith the dog.
Well, the reason for that is because there was a Keith the man
Oh,
in one of my improv troupes in Denver. One day, Keith the dog hurt himself playing in the snow and he had to have emergency surgery.
Aw.
And he was fine. He just, he's crazy and was playing too hard. So the veterinarian said, just make sure he stays calm for the rest of the evening. And I was hosting improv rehearsal at my house. So I sent a note to the troupe and I said, hey, Keith had a little accident today. So just when you come over, just, be cool, be calm. And they were like, oh my God, Keith got into a car accident. Is he okay?
Oh.
And I was like, no, Keith the dog, not Keith the man. And so like to this day, however many years later, it's still Keith the dog. And, like if I put a post up about Keith the dog, like one of the troupe members will say, I just love how it's still
Keith the dog. I
and
love
Keith
it.
the man.
that's so funny though.
What a funny dog name, Keith.
Well, evidently my ex-husband got him a year, maybe ish before he met me. He named him after Keith Richards.
Okay.
Okay.
And I was
Yep.
like, oh boy, had we already met?
Oh.
Not sure about that one.
What kind of dog was it?
He's blue heeler and Australian Shepherd.
Sweet baby.
So yeah,
I
so
love Australian Shepherds.
all about the stick and all about the ball. So now in my divorce condo, which I've named the Pineapple Playhouse because pineapple is a joke in improv, and Playhouse, I mean, you can't not have fun in the Playhouse. It was, 2 cats at the beginning of my time here. And then now it's 2 cats and 2 dogs. I hope no one from the condo association hears this because you're only allowed 2 pets.
They won't.
But my boyfriend moved in with his dog. But before he did that, I found a dog at the beginning of COVID at the corner. I was getting Zoom fatigue. And I was like, I'm just gonna shake it off and, go take an evening walk on the beach. I got as far as the first traffic light, and here's this big dog walking towards me. And P.S., I drive a smart car.
I see where that's going.
So my rule is, after working in animal welfare for so many years, and I'm a little like fatigued by it all. My rule is, okay, cute animal, if you come to me easily and I don't have to, chase you around, because one time in Denver I was like chasing a pit bull through rush hour traffic that was loose. I'm like, if you like come to me like in sort of like a natural, normal way, then I'll help you. Well, I pulled over the car, I got out of it, and I said, hi. Dog comes running to me. Oh, yay. Open the car door, jumps right in. I was like, wow. All right. It's happening. It's on. So long story short, I found the owner about maybe a week later, and she was going through some difficult stuff in her life. So I said, well, keep my contact information, because if you need, a little break with him, he can come back. Well, she called me a couple of days later and said she needed some help and could I take him? And I said, yes. But then she never appeared with him. Right. So I didn't know what was going on. And so 2 days after that, he was on Lost Pets St. Augustine on Facebook again. He had been out wandering the street and some other nice woman picked him up. So I contacted her, went to pick him up from her. Of course, he remembered me. And by this time, he was like stressed.
Poor
Oh,
baby.
So my friends were like, all right, enough with her. Like, you got to just do what you need to do. Well, doing what you need to do requires taking him to the veterinarian. And he had a heartworm.
Poor baby.
So it turned into like, the $1 million dog, but he had his own GoFundMe campaign. So he raised all the money to get all his medical care covered. And I named him Corona.
oh,
And he was like the feel-good story of Corona when no one was traveling and everyone was just sitting home drinking beer.
no doubt.
Mhm.
I had this little buddy.
Rona would be a cute girl's, like a COVID girl dog name.
Rona? Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
I'm like stuck between Leela, Roma, and Kona. Those are like my tops so far. I haven't named her yet, but
I
Well,
like
you know what I choose.
which
I like
one?
Kona because it's a beer. So it's like my love of
Yeah,
beer.
yeah. Uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
I would
It's a good
choose
beer.
Leela just because of Futurama. Of
That's where I
course.
got it. I love Futurama.
Yeah, me too.
Mm.
And then Roma is my love for travel because Rome is my favorite place I've been so far.
Oh,
So
yeah.
they all have a meaning.
Mm-hmm.
Journeyness, travel, beer.
I think I want to get like a whole new lot of pets and name them after all the Schitt's Creek characters.
Oh, that'd be so
Oh my
awesome.
gosh. I just rewatched that for the second time. I love that show.
Just have the
I
whole
never
squad.
rewatch shows. I watched that damn thing 3 times. And like I still miss it. And like I'm ready to start it over again. Like I'm
I
never
feel like
one of
I
those
caught
people
stuff I
that-
didn't catch the first
Yes.
time.
Yeah,
but
yeah. Uh-huh.
It's so clever.
But for me to say that is so huge because some people like what they like, and they'll just like watch stuff over and over. I never, ever, ever do. It's like the age-old question when you travel. Like, do you go back to some place you love, or do you go someplace new?
Yep, we talk about that a lot.
It's terrible. I mean, one of my worst fears. Oh, now I'm gonna get dark. One of my worst fears is like I'm gonna die before I get to all the places I want to see.
Same.
That's why I'm like so close to just hopping a plane to Egypt.
Well, it's funny because that whole like, oh, like what's the place that really is your place that you've never been that you want to go to more than anything in the world? Well, for a long time for me, it was Italy. And I've been to Italy now several times. But because I like put it in my head as this like almost like ethereal thing, it ended up not being as awesome as I thought. Now, subsequent trips were completely awesome because I didn't have that like dumb
Right.
thing like hanging over my head. So for me now, it's Greece. Like I'm Italian and I'm Greek and I'm Spanish. I'm all the hairy, greasy, smelly, sweaty things. So it's like when I'm over there, I'm like, yes, my people. But I'm like worried about going to Greece, like not having anything to do with COVID or anything, just like in my own
Expectations.
and I have a friend who's there now. She's a friend that I've never met in person. She's like a friend of a friend that our mutual friend connected us on Facebook because we're like-minded. So I'm like living vicariously through her. She's in Greece now. And I'm like, oh my God, what if it's like not everything that
Right.
is anything ever really, because awe is gone. I read a great travel article that was all about like the loss of awe, because any place we go, we've seen in magazines, we've seen online, we've read in the travel guides, like there's no mystery anymore. But I will say, the first time I went, the first time, like I've been there multiple times, the only time I went to Venice. So in one of my Italy trips, I got off the train and I walked out the door of the train station and I saw the water, and I was like, literally, this is what I said to my first husband. Do you like how I say first husband, second husband, all the husbands? I'm like, it really is water. They weren't lying. They really don't have cars here. It's true what they say. And I literally started crying. I was like a little kid, like,
Aw.
oh my God, it's true. It's true. And I was crying. There's one little spot in Venice, away from all the tourist spots, the Jewish quarter, that is just like this beautiful little slice of life neighborhood that you can just sit and watch people at play. And my ex-husband found this beautiful painting in this little tucked away place of all these little cats playing in the Jewish neighborhood of Venice. And it's like one of my most treasured items. And then when we got divorced, he thought he was going to keep it. I was like, are you insane? You gave that to me for my birthday. No,
Right.
that is
No.
mine. It's one of those things, like every time I look at it, I'm happy.
That's so cute. I haven't been to Venice.
It's like a happy, sad thing, because mass tourism is so destructive there. So I was so happy to see that they're no longer going to be allowing cruise ships, which are, to me, the root of all evil. I feel like that's the first step towards saving Venice.
Yeah. It wasn't even on my radar when I did my Italy trip, but now that you're saying it, I'm like, that needs to be on my next Italy trip.
Where'd you go?
Naples, because Pompeii was like my number one bucket list,
Uh-huh.
which we did get to go, but it was really hot. And the girl I went with was definitely like over it. So we didn't explore as much as I'd like. So I'm going to have to go back. So there's that.
Did you
I
go
have to
in
go
the
back.
summertime?
It was September. So it was later in the year, but it was still so hot.
Mm-hmm.
And then we went to Rome. So we just did the two. And I remember when we first got to Naples, I think we were just exhausted. It was like our third country of the trip. And Naples is very grungy. There's a lot of graffiti and there was a lot of construction. I do remember at first kind of being like, okay. But then once we actually started walking around and I got the culture vibe and we could see the water in Mount Vesuvius, that's when I was like, it actually met my expectations for sure.
Even though I've been to Italy more than once, I've never been to South Italy. And I have heard exactly what you just said, that
Yeah.
Naples is grungy and South Italy is a whole different vibe. And I don't know if you experienced this. Were there a lot of animals roaming around, dogs and cats?
There were cats because they would actually come up and I would pet them. And I was like,
Mhm.
and I'm allergic to cats, but I still love them. So I was like, come here, kitty. And the girl I went with is highly allergic to cats. So
Oh
she would kind of
no.
just step back like and let me have my moment. And then we'd go on.
They
Yeah.
sent me a
So-
picture of all cats
I think
on
I
the
kept
ruins.
sitting.
Yeah.
So supposedly, from what people have told me, the mafia is involved in animal control in South Italy. Because I used to work in animal welfare, I do this weird thing when I travel. I like find out about, well, what's the deal with spaying and neutering and all this. And I volunteered with, it's called Torre Argentina in Rome. And so Torre Argentina is a sanctuary on like the plaza of Torre Argentina. And that's where Caesar was assassinated. So it's literally ruins. And you have to, it's not street level, it's below street level. So you walk down the stairs and enter a sanctuary, an animal sanctuary that's below the street. Because back in the 20s, I think it was the 20s, a small group of women discovered that cats were hanging out there. So instead of like taking them to a place, they set up a place right there.
And where was this?
This is in Rome.
So I went there.
You did? Oh, cool. Yeah.
So my sister and her husband did their honeymoon in Italy like quite a few years ago. They've been married for a while. But she told me that they had stumbled upon this cat sanctuary that was ruins that they had accidentally discovered. They were trying to like build a subway or something and they discovered these ruins. And so I knew I wanted to find them, but I didn't know where they were because it's hard to like Google and find. So we ended up just kind of walking and we walked up upon it. And there were so many cats hanging out and chilling. And I was trying to like coax them up, but they have a good life in there. So they're like, we're good.
Yeah, they're totally taken care of.
They're
And
cozy.
the organization gets volunteers from all over the world.
Yeah.
And so like if you want to stay for an extended period of time, they'll help find housing for you. It's really fabulous. So I helped them with their first super adoption day because at the time that I was working with them, they had a really great presence with the tourists. Tourists would come, make donations, buy souvenirs, volunteer, all that. But with the locals, they didn't really have much of an impact. So through having an adoption event, they were able to, have a little more presence with the local community because that's who would be adopting the cats. And that's how I learned about, Naples and, the difference between Northern Italy and Southern Italy in terms of animal control. Listen to me. It's not about like the difference between Northern Italian cuisine or Southern Italian cuisine. It's like, what do they do with their cats?
I love it. But I did not know that that was Caesar's like murder spot.
Mm-hmm.
That
Yep.
fascinates me. So
And that was really funny for me because my father is all Italian and he always says the blood of Caesar runs through our veins, and I always roll my eyes. So I'm like, oh, guess where I'm doing a thing, Dad.
which I think is awesome because their expectation for you to become this accountant or
Yeah.
scientist, but really like you're doing your heritage proud.
That's right. Well, speaking of that, the one trip I went on, my father's family is from the area of Pescara, which is due east of Rome on the other coast.
Okay.
I stayed in this bed and breakfast and I didn't tell them that my family was from there or anything because I was like, oh, why would they care? But then when they found out, they're like, why didn't you tell us? We would have done research for you. And they were like so upset that they didn't know. They took me out to dinner and all this. But the husband of the couple, he looked like a young version of my dad to the point where it was so creepy because he was so handsome. I was like, oh my God, this is so strange. Like so strange. And it was like the spitting image of my dad when he was a young man. My last name, Angelilli, there's like distant cousins in Rome. And I had someone who spoke Italian contact them on my behalf, which was kind of fun. But Angelilli is very common in Italy. Angelilli is not common in the US. So Angelini is common in the US. So I always wonder, like, well, when Angelillis came to the US, was that just like too many L's and too many I's? And so
They just started changing.
yeah, yeah. Because you don't see Angelini in Italy like you see Angelilli.
That makes sense though. I wouldn't be surprised.
My grandfather on my mother's side is Greek. And my mother's maiden name is Vlaco, Vlaco. Her full name from when the family came over was something along the lines of, I might mess this up, but something along the lines of Volupolus. And then it was shortened to Vlaco, Vlaco.
Wow.
Yeah.
Can't handle the long ones in America.
Americans like shorten that up.
Well, it makes me sad. Like the gals that work in the place where I get a pedicure, gals and guys, they're from all different regions of Asia. And it's fun to talk to them because they are from all different regions of Asia. All their names have been changed, so it's John, Winnie. I wish that they had kept their names and just put like a little tutorial up.
Right, like on
Agreed.
Google.
Like they could have put like just like a little chart up in the salon, like not just done it verbally, but like done it, I'm a visual learner and I'm sure there's others like me. So you see their names in the way in which they write them in their own alphabet. And then, okay, like how then do we pronounce that in all?
Right.
Yeah, I agree. It's like, let's just keep your name and make everybody learn how to say it.
Well, I love talking to them because
Yeah.
it's an education. And
Yeah.
I've only been to Asia once. I hit 2 countries in that trip, but there's so much more to learn about, so many
Yeah.
different kinds of people from different places. And at the same time, one of the best learnings we can discover is not what makes us different, but what makes us all the same. Because if we could have a little bit of empathy around the fact that, hey, we're all human beings before we're like anything else, then we might be a little kinder to each other.
And that's what's so great about people that do travels. I feel like you get that.
You totally get that. Instead of what's rattling around in your head, you actually see what's in front of your eyes.
Forces you to open up, have like a open mind, basically.
Mm-hmm.
You have no choice but to have an open mind.
Right. Another reason why I liken travel to improv. It's like you have to be open to be successful at both things.
Well, and I feel like improv, you're ready to kind of go with the flow at any moment, right? And so I feel like that's a lot of travel is like you do have to be ready for things to change or to be around people, a culture you've never been around, like that kind of stuff. Yeah.
It's about making your partner look good, so it's a little bit of a different vibe from stand up because not only is everything created in the moment, but you do it as an ensemble. So even if your ensemble is only 2 people, you're tasked with making that other person or other people look good, supporting them, making sure that they're successful. And then in doing so, that comes back to you. And if we travel with that mindset, I feel like we have a much more positive experience. Like when when I did that Asia trip, a friend of mine in Spain put that trip together, and it was 2 Spaniards, 2 Germans, and 2 Americans. My Spanish friend, his sister and her family were living in Hanoi because the sister's husband was a diplomat. And like the sister's husband could not have been any more fabulous. Like just, when my ATM card wasn't working, here, take all the money, like here's a big spread of food. Here's how you get around. Just let me show you this restaurant, like all the lovely things. But our group of 6, as we ventured out in Vietnam and into Cambodia, we weren't on the same travel wavelength. Like we weren't of the same travel mindset. So the Germans, oh my gosh. Okay. I love beer. We love beer, right?
Right.
Okay. And there's a place for beer, right? When we got to Cambodia and it was Temple Day, put beer in their backpack to bring to the Buddhist temples because they thought they were going to get, bored with it or whatever. This is like one of those things that I've been waiting like a lifetime to see with
Right.
my own eyes, like the majestic architecture, just like I was waiting for Indiana Jones to like come around the corner, like it was really amazing. And luckily my second ex-husband, who was still my husband at the time, was of my same ilk. So we had our cameras and we were like so respectful. And the tuk-tuks could only hold 4 people at a time. So they took one and we took another one and we loved it. We went for a second day. And the Germans with their beers, just like, it was so upsetting to me. Like you're in this,
Right.
like one of the 7 wonders of the world. Like it's a architectural marvel. And then that evening, the Germans picked the restaurant in Siem Reap that we would eat dinner at. And it was like a Cambodian TGIF. And I literally started to melt down. But nobody could tell I was melting down because it was so loud in there that I just sort of like blended in with all the noise. And it was also the leg of the trip that I won, in that I got to plan the place that we stayed. And we stayed in this like amazing Airbnb. There were 6 of us. We each had our own room. It had like a little plunge pool. It had this like outdoor kitchen and living room and these gardens. And it was owned by a Frenchman who married a Cambodian woman. And the locals who ran it were all paid a living wage. You know, it's just a really lovely place. And they really took care of us. Well, one morning the power went out. I mean, I don't know, you're traveling in a third world country, stuff happens.
Right.
So the Germans, like, my door wasn't locked. So they like just made their way in and started screaming at me to, call the host. And by the time they finished yelling at me, like the power was back on. And I just thought, travel is so amazing. And the amazingness rises and falls by the people that are part of the adventure, because there's so many different ways to travel. But if you do an online dating profile and you say, I like to travel. So at the beginning of my business is called The Adventure Project. And I work with people, help them with adventures personally and professionally through laughter and play. At the very beginning, my first task was helping people with online dating profiles and being authentic at them. Well, I don't do this anymore because people just wanted to complain. And one of the things I would always point out is, when you say you like to travel in an online dating profile, you need to clarify that. You need to take the onion and peel back the layers, because not everybody travels the same. And if you're a cruise ship person, you're not going to get on with a backpacker type person.
Right.
So you need to like come clean on what path you're on with your travel life. And so that became really apparent on that trip. And I remember like the last day of the trip sitting in Hanoi and having this amazing Vietnamese coffee and looking at everybody sitting around the table, and everybody was on their phones. And I just thought, this was not
Not your group.
for me. And I mean, I'm still friends with my friend. He's great, but his girlfriend was a pill. The other couple were also pills. And if I say my ex-husband was one of the better people on the trip, then you know.
And I think too, people take it for granted, like coming from Germany, it's a lot easier to travel around those countries when you're in Europe. It takes a lot more for us to get over there. So when we get over there, we want to absorb every single detail we can.
One of the people that I really took a liking to was the young gay guy who toured us around the Mekong River area. And he and I were like 2 teenage girls in the van on the way back. I mean, we're friends on Facebook. I was like, please, whenever you can get to the States, like, I'm here, all this. And my friend was like, can you keep it down? We're trying to sleep. And I was like, I will not. Like, I'm making a new friend, which is why we travel. But it was so fascinating to hear about him living in rural Vietnam as a young gay man.
Yeah.
And his struggles, and it's like, I'm having an experience, but like, I just feel like there's a whole sector of people that those kind of slices of life are lost on.
They're missing out on like the benefits of travel.
Yeah.
Because we travel to see these places, of course. But part of the journey is who you meet and the experiences that you get from it.
Right. One of the companies that I like to travel with, not that I'm particularly a tour group person, but sometimes when you're in a difficult place to get around and you only have a limited time, it's easier. So Intrepid Travel is a socially responsible tour operator. And I've been out with them a couple of times. On one trip, the group was comparing notes, like trying to like one up each other with all the different things they've seen and done and experienced or whatever. Of course, I got bored with that because I was more interested in our guide and her local friends,
Right.
and so I was traveling with my first ex-husband's daughter. Yes, that's very weird. She's 10 years younger than me. And so we hung out with the guide, her local friends, had a few beers, talked all about, just life, and had a great time. And like that's the richness of being somewhere else.
I agree.
It's almost the best part to me. Meeting people, talking to people, like hearing where they're from.
Well, obviously I want to see the sights too, but
Yeah, but like, you see the sights and
Yeah.
and then you get that added bonus.
yeah.
Mhm.
And so on those trips where it's like you're moving a little too fast to meet local people because you only have like a certain amount of time, I always get sad because I always feel like something that I didn't get out of this. So like my birthday 2 years ago, I went to Central and Eastern Europe, and it was one of those, like, again, through Intrepid, 5 countries in an X amount of days. The guide was from England. I didn't get to meet too many local people because we were moving a little fast. Normally I don't do stuff like that. So it reminded me why I don't do stuff like that, because I wasn't able to connect on a local level. However, the guide and I are still friends. He has his own travel podcast, and I've done his podcast, and we're talking about like linking up improv and tour guiding and like how can we create something together. And I was like, oh, thank God for Maddie. Like he was the thing that made that, not just okay, hurry up, we're moving to the next place. Hurry up, we're moving on to the next place. Like every place we went was great. It's not just a matter of like, vacation where they take the picture of the Grand Canyon. It's not just like, okay, click, go to the next place, click, go to the next place.
That's cool that you're still friends with them. Oh, is that the one that you said in the message that you were recently on a travel podcast? Is that his?
Yeah,
Cool.
travel bubble. Uh-huh. Yeah.
Yeah, we follow
So
him
poor
on
guy, he
Instagram.
got sidelined because of COVID, of course.
Sure.
So he's in Cornwall, England, in southern England with his girlfriend, and they both teach English as a second language online. And then he's doing local tour guiding in Cornwall.
We want to know your biggest bucket list destination.
Oh, Greece.
That's what I kind of figured when I was
Greece.
asking.
Yeah, Greece.
So we'll have to hear
I
about
want to see
that.
if there's any voluptuouses over there.
I actually don't know if I
like
could
you want to
pronounce
say
it.
voluptuous almost.
Yes, voluptuous voluptuouses.
Yeah.
Love it. And before you go, if you would like to give a little rundown on your adventure project and where they can find you.
Sure. So the adventure project is an opportunity to have adventures. So not the adventures that you might think about when you think about Colorado, the hiking, biking, marathon, hikeathon, 14 marathon, the 14,000 foot mountains, but to have adventures that help people connect with each other through laughter and cooperative play. And my biggest tool is improv. And I run an improv school in St. Augustine. And then I do play shops anywhere and everywhere that someone would like to invite me. So I've even done play shops in Spanish in Central America.
I love it.
Yeah.
And you get to do what you love and work at the same time.
I do. Yeah.
Best of both worlds.
Yes. Agreed.
And where can they find you?
Oh, www.adventure-project.com and on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook as well.
Thank you so much. We will definitely have you back on because I did not want to interrupt you. I just know that I have to edit this at some point. So
I feel my boyfriend would tell you, please interrupt her.
You'll have to tell him to save you a good beer.
Yes,
Next time
yes,
we
for
do
the
that.
fall. Keep a good beer in the back corner for me for the
I'm
fall.
totally serious. We'll do this again and do some more travel stories.
Yay!
So stay tuned for more Amy.
Woohoo! Thank you. I had fun with you gals.
It was very fun. We're definitely going to have you back on. Bye.
Bye. Thanks again so much to Amy coming on. We didn't even touch on the main topic that we had planned for today because we just absolutely love talking to her and we just let the conversation flow. She will definitely be back because we have so much more to talk about with her. And she loves beer as much as we do, so she's a perfect fit.
I mean, anybody that loves beer, travel, and adventure as much as we do, you know we're going to get along with them just fine.
Yeah, of course. And like we said, this is the end of our season 1, but stay tuned on our Instagram. We're definitely going to do a lot of work on our website as well because we've kind of been slacking on that, but just make sure you keep an eye on that. Our website is
JetSetHers.com.
And if you wanted to stay current, we'll definitely be making little announcements here and there. It's mainly going to be on our Instagram and then also our Facebook.
At JetSetHersPod.
And if you want to be a guest next season, or if you have any crazy travel stories you want to tell us, they can be anonymous, however you want to do it. Send us an email.
JetSetHers@gmail.
And while we're away, because you know you love us, go on, give us a rate, give us a review.
You know what to do. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.